Why, hello everybody. So welcome to another Back in My Day. Today we starting a series called Gaming Horror Stories, and this series I will start with chronological order from the first one to the latest one, because some of the stories affect each other in terms of how I deal in certain games. So that's why I decided instead of jumping around to start from the beginning. So the first really bad horror story for gaming wise. I'll skip the poker stuff because is more of a different kind of hobby. I guess I still consider it gaming, but some people might not. So I'll put the poker stuff maybe in another series. But for real gaming, the first one started in about 96 to 98. I can't remember the exact date, but it's from the game by Games Workshop, Warhammer 40,000. So what happened was that I started getting into this hobby, and I was started painting all the miniatures. And being not the richest kid, um, I found it very hard to have a huge army, because the cost at the time was not already quite high, and on top of that was the time to paint it. And then of course the worst thing for me and my brother and all, which twin brother who played, was the transport of the miniatures, because when you transport then arms fell off and everything, and we were very anal about these things. So on top of that, you can see there's a lot of problems with getting into the hobby at the time. There was only one store that we knew of that sold the miniatures and had tables to play on, which was called Leisurecraft, which was not exactly what you call a friendly local gaming store or a FLGS. They were pretty bad, and I at least again take it as a, if you want to see it as a biased view, it can be. Nowadays it's called Paradigm Infinitum, which I still think is equally as bad, maybe not as bad as before, but still bad. Again, my stories for that is actually linked. I'll put a link below to that video. You can listen to, or watch, and you see from there, and then you decide for yourself, basically. But so with all these problems, one day my brother actually went to play, and finally, and so he actually got this contact that said he wanted to play, and he would play at this. We arranged a date, and he said, like, why not you come and play with this guy? My brother has not played him before, to what I know. And I said, sure, because I wanted to play. We played very little games of 140,000, and we started the hobby was to play it, although we love painting. So I went to the store, and what I feared happened was that I took all my miniatures, there were arms broken off and everything. But I just said, you know what, let's just play. And this was in about 1997 or so. I can't remember the exact edition, but mine was a totally legal army, tournament army. It was only 500 points, to I remember, or 1,000. And I think I had 2 Grey Hunter squads, a Blood Claw, and a Long Fang squad with a character, general. And I set it up and everything, and I asked my opponent, he's a Malay kid, what are you playing? And he looks at me and he says, oh, I don't have a codex. And I give that look like, then what are you playing? And he takes up this list and he shows it to me, and I was in horror also when I saw it, because he also started taking out his miniatures. And basically, not only were these, I'm not saying you to play tournament legal, but his entire army was a Space Marine army, which broke all the rules for the codexes, which are basically the army books with rules stating that you have to, like example, you cannot have more than one rare unit, that kind of thing. Even if you don't play 40k, that is the example. His entire army broke those kind of rules. To give you an example, he had an entire army, alright, all 10-man squads, or is it 5-man? No, 5-man squads. He had several of them, and all of them were Space Marines with jump packs, and they each had 1 lightning claw and 1 plasma pistol. Almost every person in each of the squads was armed that way. And again, you have to remember, this is in the 96, 98 editions of the Space Marine codexes. And again, to give you an example, in case you don't play 40k, the lightning claws, which he only had 1 on, was specifically stated in in the Space Marine codexes or the army books in the rules stating that it can only be given to terminators, which are these elite heavy infantry, and you had to take them in a pair. So they were extremely rare already, and you could not take a whole army of jump packs because jump packs are basically, they allow your troops to move really, really far. So, and each of them had plasma pistols, which were incredibly powerful pistols. One shot is like, instead of like normal strength 3, strength 4, this one's about probably strength 5, strength 6. So it's almost double the strength. And his entire army was there. And I was looking at this and I was like giving him that look, and he saw it. And he turned to me, he's like, "Oh, don't worry. This army is totally balanced." Me and my friend, we sat at home and we wrote it all down, we did all the math. And he was smiling and all that. I was like, and here's the thing, beggars can't be choosers. I was extremely skeptical, but I just said, you know what? I'm here, the models are set up, let's play. We played. Very short. By turn 2, basically, and when I say turn 2, it's turn 2 of my start, meaning basically we only had one round where I did my thing. He moved, slaughtered my entire army. I'm not kidding, slaughtered my entire. I had no models left on the board. Now, you can argue strategies and my army composition. I didn't have much money to do any army composition, but to be able to do that in that edition in one turn, and he didn't have any tanks. Remember, these are all infantry, so they crossed the board, slaughtered everybody, and that was the game. To do that was just, there's no way that army is totally balanced. I mean, and you, like I said before, you heard how many rules he broke of the standard codex. And I just looked at him and he's like, it came back to him and I had no models left. Of course, then he won and he's like smiling and he's like, "Oh, you should have done this, you should have done that," and kept saying about how, suddenly he also started talking about how come his army's composition is so good. And he's like, "Yeah, of course it's good because you're cheating." And I just packed up really, really fast and I left. And he's like, "Oh, do you want to play again?" And I was like, no. I just packed up and I left. Then he started messaging my brother and all, asking when do we want to play, and of course we kept refusing. So that whole experience in 40k with players like that and the bad friendly local gaming store just kind of pushed me away. And it's probably experiences like that reason why I just stopped gaming for such a long time after that. It was only recently in 2011 that I got back into board gaming and gaming in general to a certain extent, and it's because of all those bad experiences. So that's my first gaming horror story, and my god, did it have an effect. Because like I said, after that particular game, I never tried to find another game of 40k, never, because it was just like, it's like, I don't want to. Of course I always came back to it because it's something I like to do, paint and play these games. So but so in the way to end these, I like to say that would be a moral of the story. Moral of the story, one, if possible, do your checks on these people you're going to play with, if possible, and find out about them before you commit to know them, because they tend to that guy pestered my brother for quite a bit after a while, a few weeks in fact. And if you want to play for the winning sake, that means no matter what, you just want to win by cheating or whatever, by all means. But then if you find no one else to play with, it's your fault, and I'm not going to even take that back. I'm going to say it's your fault. So you win one time, come, let me clap for you, alright? And then go ahead, because you'll never find another person to play with you willingly. Even if people see you, they're going to avoid you. So, thank you very much. Till next word.